Idea, L bracket, lighting, audio record, screen record, airdrop, color grade, cut to beat, Adobe Podcast, audio sync, CapCut, edit captions, cover photo edit, airdrop all to phone, hashtags, text replacement, add to story. Did you get all that? In case you didn't, let me explain. In this video, I'm gonna explain how I come up with reels, how I shoot them, edit them, and post them. This is my workflow at this point in time. This is by no means the perfect way to do it. This is just what works for me. And my workflow is changing constantly. I'm always looking for ways to improve and become more efficient and a better editor and better at making reels. But I'm making this video now because this is what's worked for me for quite a long time now. Not just for me and my personal reels, but for other people and other companies. By the end of this video, you're gonna learn a couple things that are gonna make you better at making reels, and one thing in particular that's gonna save you a ton of time. First up, how I come up with ideas. A lot can be said about Instagram and TikTok about how everything there is just recycled content. Especially if you see something with a specific audio, everyone's just kind of doing the same thing because it's a trend. And while there are negative sides to that, I think it almost alleviates the pressure of being completely original, coming up with something new every single time. If you see a fun trend, you wanna try it, go ahead. Be it color grading, transitions, storytelling, whatever it is. You're not making a movie here, you're just making a fun reel. Just have fun with it. I wouldn't copy something directly the same because what's the point of doing that? Just make it your own. With that said, every time I see a reel that I like, or I want to copy it, or I draw inspiration from it, I go ahead and save it to a collection called social media. It is really beneficial to have a central place to go to just draw inspiration from. While I do come up with a lot of ideas on my own, about half of the things that I make, I've drawn inspiration from other people on the platform. All right, next up is gear that actually makes a huge difference. And spoiler alert, it's pretty inexpensive stuff. So number one thing I'd recommend is get a good studio light. There are a ton of options on the market and you can get whatever suits your needs the best. What I personally use the most is the Aputure 200D. It is pretty inexpensive and it is very bright. You can diffuse it, you can turn it into a spotlight, you can make hard shadows, soft shadows, whatever you want with it. It's very much worth the money in my opinion. Two must-have pieces of gear for Instagram Reels in my opinion are an L bracket and a very long 3.5mm cord. What the L bracket allows you to do is make it way more comfortable and easy to mount your camera vertically on a tripod, instead of having it off to the side where it can be tipped over very easily. It also lets you vertically mount a camera to your gimbal way faster. Honestly, this L bracket's basically on one of my cameras at all times. A good mic is good, but the number one thing to getting better audio is getting it closer to the source. That's where the long cord comes in. This allows you to get your mic a lot closer to your mouth while still being able to plug it into the camera without having to deal with wireless mic situations. By the way, there's links to all the gear I just mentioned in the description below the like button. Now that we're done talking about gear, it's time to shoot. I shoot an S-Log3 and I use Phantom LUTs to color grade. It's very quick, basically just a one-click solution. The three that I use the most are Eastman, Utopia, and Ice Blue. Those all give a very different look, so I'm pretty much covered in every situation. As long as you white balance correctly, you can kind of go wherever you want with your footage. I do sometimes have to adjust the highlights or the shadows, and I do that by moving the color wheels above the LUT so that the corrections are affecting the footage before the LUT comes in. And some people might think that's overkill just for social media, but I make a lot of reels. The more reels that I make, the more practice I have. The more practice I have at color grading, the better I get. If you really want to get good at color grading, I suggest doing it with everything you make. Color grade every single day, color grade everything you shoot. That's just the quickest way to get good at something. Practice. Crazy tips, right? Sometimes there's talking head things like this where the music doesn't really matter. There are other times where I'm editing and cutting to a specific beat. So depending on which situation, that's where you introduce the music. Just like with getting ideas through Instagram, every time I see an audio that I like, I save it. Then I know where to find it when I'm ready to use it. And I just screen record it. I just airdrop that video to my computer. Once I've airdropped the screen recording with the music to my computer, I bring it into Final Cut, I hit Shift 3 so I'm only moving the audio into the timeline. This particular reel, I am cutting to the beat. So I place it below my footage and then just cut to the beat. If you did record some talking head for your reel, these are the effects that I add to clean up the audio and bring out the voice a little bit more. Expander, channel EQ, de-esser, compressor, and limit. And I add just a touch of voice isolation. If you add too much, you start to sound like a robot, so less is more in this situation. And if you're still not happy with your audio, there's too much background noise, the levels are too low, you can hear the AC or something like that, I suggest using Adobe Podcast. All you have to do is select your in and out points and export as an MP3. Then just click and drag it onto Adobe Podcast. It takes about a minute to fix your audio depending on how long it is, and then you can just download an enhanced version of it. This is in no way sponsored by Adobe, it's just something I've been using a ton lately, and it has saved some audio that I thought was ruined, so I think it can help you too. I'll just link it down below in the description as well. If you want to add captions, I've been using something called Captionator, but I feel like that's a lot better for long form content. If you're making reels and TikToks, I'd honestly just export your video once you're done and upload it to CapCut. It can sound like a roundabout way of doing things, but honestly, CapCut is just really great at captions. Their auto caption feature is great, and you can edit them to make them super dynamic and eye-catching. And there's a bunch of free features that you don't even have to pay for. Last thing to do is just airdrop everything to your phone and upload to Instagram. Also, since we've already added music to our video when we're editing, if you edit it to a beat, you can still attach a trending audio to your video once you're uploading it as a reel. All you have to do is select the audio, go into controls, and lower the audio all the way down to 1. Not 0, but 1, because if you put it at 0, it won't attach. And bring the camera audio, which is your original audio, all the way up to 100. So that way what the viewer can hear is just your audio that you synced up to the cuts. You already did the hard work of editing to the beat. You don't want to have to redo that in Instagram where it's not very precise at all. Now here's something that I've done to save a ton of time when posting to Instagram. If you find yourself posting the same like 15, 20 hashtags over and over again, instead of typing them all out every single time, just set up a text replacement. In your settings, go to General, Keyboard, Text Replacement. Type in all the hashtags you want to use and then set up a shortcut. That way, when you're typing out your caption or your comment, it doesn't really matter where you post the hashtags, type in the shortcut and your hashtags will just show up. To take it even further, think about the types of content you make. Let's say you have 3 different types of content. That way you can have hashtags for each type of content in 3 different shortcuts. And it's finally time to post. Honestly, ever since things stopped showing up chronologically on the feed, it doesn't really matter what time you post too much, just as long as you're consistent. And maybe it's just for me, but something that I found is that the more people share your reel to their stories, the worse your reel performs. As in, the reel will get a lot more views, but a lot less likes. Why? Because every time someone views that person's story with that reel, that counts as a view. But almost no one clicks into the reel from a story to go like it. So what Instagram sees is that this reel is getting a lot of views, but not a lot of likes. So they stop showing it to more people. One of the best examples of this on my page is when I made a reel and it got 40,000 views, but only 59 likes. Why? Because I tagged the people that are in the reel. One person had 1 million followers, the other one had around 300,000 followers. They both added it to their stories, a bunch of people saw it, not a bunch of people clicked into it. Whereas one of my most liked reels had 400 likes and 23,000 views because I didn't post it to my story or really anywhere else. So that might not be your same experience with posting reels to stories, but that's definitely my experience. That's why I almost never post my reel to my story. Because it's not just about getting your reel in front of as many eyes as possible, it's about getting it in front of the right people who are gonna interact with it, like it, comment, stuff like that. So that's just my 2 cents on that, take it or leave it. So this is my general workflow for all my reels. Of course, there are some reels that are very, very different, very intensive. A lot more processing goes into After Effects or Photoshop, but maybe in a future video I can dissect those reels and really go in depth with those. For now, I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you learned something that's gonna save you some time or make you better at editing reels or shooting reels. Again, don't copy other people, but definitely draw inspiration from them. There's lots of talented people on Instagram, and eventually you're gonna get your own style. And who knows, maybe you'll set trends yourself. And let me know if there's something that I can incorporate into my workflow, because I'm always looking for ways to get better, and I love being creative and making reels and just kind of getting better every time. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.